As you can see, it's a ghost town now. I mean, Long Street is always busy. Long Street is where the business is from morning. Long Street doesn't have Mondays, doesn't have Sundays. It's a busy street all the time. For us, which, I mean, we rely maybe almost like 60 to 70% of the turnover is coming from selling of alcohol, and of course, we are not much of a takeaway restaurant, and we rely mostly on the people sitting down. In terms of the business side, it's really hitting us very hard. It's like, taking out the head of the snake completely. Definitely. I mean, as you can see, it's quite all the staff at home, just the managers in the shop trying to figure out what we can do, brainstorming ourselves to make sure that we have something to sell, to keep the business going.
Personally, I'm preparing for the worst case scenario right now, is that we'll be in lockdown for at least a month, if not more. In the hospitality industry, we will never get back to normal until we've got overseas visitors here. And there was no possibility of that happening anytime soon. So we're not really in recovery mode, we've always been in just survival mode. We've basically been keeping our heads above water. And as you yourself have seen, there's many places which have closed down. They couldn't keep their heads above water. I'm that far away myself, but I've been like that for over a year. Struggling on, hoping it is going to get right. It will come right one day, but we don't know when. It could be 6 months from now, 2 years from now, we don't know.
It obviously hurts. We realize that the government's got a difficult job and they've got to make difficult choices. However, it's certainly my feeling and the feeling of many of the operators here that there were different ways to achieve this and to allow us to trade responsibly without cutting us off at the knees. I know owners of popular restaurants that are institutions whose owners are having to take second jobs to kind of support their staff and manage to keep the lights on. So guys who are not in the emotional space to continue persevering absolutely will go under, or guys who have plumbed the barrel of what they have in reserve. It's brutal. People are suffering, and staff are suffering as well. It's not just restaurant owners. It's guys who sit at home for weeks and weeks. Our restaurant's a perfect example. I think there's obviously a lot of effort that goes into trying to pivot and adjust in the event of a lockdown. Obviously it's been quite a persistent threat in that we know that sword is always hanging over our head. However, I think it's about being resilient and creative. So when these things happen, a lot of guys have shifted to try and go to prep at home meals, frozen meals, things like that. And ultimately you have to try those things, but nothing can replace having people in your restaurant. So we can try as hard as we like, and we can and do. However, often it's a drop in the barrel of what needs to be done.